Over the next 10 minutes, I will throw down some enlightening concepts that will ease your mind and hopefully give you a reason to be excited about the future of our human race. Astrologically speaking, our planets move through the houses of the zodiac, highlighting their different aspects, as well as the aspects of the house they occupy as they make their way around the zodiac wheel. Some planets take longer to make an orbit around the sun, which means they stay in our constellations or houses for longer periods. Those planets affect us not only on a personal level, but as a collective human race. Currently, although Pluto is actually in Capricorn, we're experiencing a transformation of Pluto frequencies in Scorpio, as this generation is the socially active age group of 27 to 39. Our Scorpio generation are at the peak of their experience with Pluto. As you can see, the introduction of Pluto in a new house causes a rise in the previous generation and peaks with the one previous to that. During the peak is when you will see the full expression of Pluto's frequency on that generation. With Pluto's rise in Scorpio, we experience some really heavy destructive energy, as Scorpio is also ruled by Pluto, and the 8th house is ruled by Saturn. That's explosive. The planet Pluto moves around the sun, transforming everything in its path. It's the energy of upheaval, transformation, death, rebirth, and change. It talks about what's hidden, corruption, leadership, and persistence. At a relatively slow speed, it moves through the houses, marking challenges and purposes of the collective human race, as well as impacting us personally. Studying the past cycles of Pluto, it seems as if its movement through the zodiac signs causes an overexpression of issues that come to light through the houses. These things become emphasized so that they can be transformed for the betterment of society overall. Let's take a look at this graphic. If you look at the houses related to each sign and consider their planetary influences, you can see how historically accurate this has been. It takes Pluto approximately 248 years to make one orbit around the sun. With this, we can go back as far as we like to see how we've evolved in so many aspects as human beings. Babies being born right now are Pluto in Capricorn. Under the sign of Capricorn, they offer a promise of future stability, comforts, and responsibility. When they become adults and start to contribute to society, we'll see the power of their gifts. Of course, not before they face the destruction of Pluto's influence. To that point, I believe our Pluto in Libra and Scorpio and Sagittarius generations have opened the door for Capricorn generation to be more intuitive, mindful, wise, and spiritual. Most currently, we've experienced a transformation of Pluto frequencies in Scorpio. We experienced an upheaval and dismantling of sexual identity, race, social status, and political views. These are concepts that Pluto in Leo and Virgo generation set into motion. Scorpio generation is intended to tear down the previous generation agendas, structures, and concepts. The Scorpio generation was a sort of abandoned child. They were a matter of circumstance to their Pluto in Leo and Pluto in Virgo parents, who were busy with their own challenges of the time. They became a generation of children that were ignored and given distractions so that they could continue to be ignored. But they learned something through this period: how to connect together to bring about their voices collectively, although their message was messy, as are most things that are demolished for reconstruction. They brought about the obvious need for change. Change to the concepts, beliefs, and structures previous generations created that inadvertently pitted us against each other and enslaved us to a system that does not serve us. Not only the political and social aspects were dismantled during this upheaval, we faced the destruction brought about by Pluto on several other levels with things we faced. Not only putting into question our leaders, and the structures that were created to govern our lives, but how we live our lives day to day. As with all Plutonian generations, Scorpios have a destructive karmic cycle they must travel through before the powerful transformation can happen. This is where our Sagittarius generation comes in with spirituality on an expansive level, strong intuition, and wisdom for the transformation of the human race. These are people currently aged 14 to 27. Being children of Pluto and Libra, who are aged 39 to 51, this generation was influenced by their parents' placement in the 7th house, which is about finding harmony in relationships, cooperation, and balance. Libra's ruling planet, Venus, makes them inclined towards love, rewarding relationships, and compatible connections. Keep in mind, the overall nature of Pluto will have brought about the destruction of previous generations' concepts through destructive personal experiences with Libra generation that were transformative personally as well as collectively. Our Libra generation finds balance in those things through alternative spiritual concepts and methods. Now with our Sagittariuses, the influence of Jupiter and the Libra generation will make them very expansive and inclined towards more satisfying relationships, adventurous spiritual endeavors, and a collective connection. This generation will be optimistic, adventurous, and open-minded, bringing in new concepts for the restructuring of existing concepts and structures that Pluto and Leo and Virgo generations created, and Pluto and Scorpio generation is dismantling. Things start to slow down with Pluto as we move into Capricorn, and it's going to stay in that constellation until 2024 when it moves into Aquarius, our current age. Capricorn, currently age 14 and under, will give stability and power to the transformation that Sagittarius generation brings. They're sitting next to each other on the zodiac wheel. They're naturally incompatible. So keep in mind that they'll start with the destruction of issues its previous generation has not transformed through their personal experiences and collective energy. It will be interesting to see how these energies play out and how we will ultimately transform the collective frequency. The next generation will be Aquarius. This will be a time when community, contribution, and vision will flourish among the human race. In terms of the ages, we've made leave of age of Pisces, which was about identity, authority, and governing structures. We made entrance into the age of Aquarius, which is about being free from governing structures and authority, as well as self-liberty and community strength. Now, back to the zodiac. The last stop on Pluto's cycle before beginning again at Aries is Pisces. This generation will bring peace, connectedness, intuition, and values through the transformations they bring to our collective human race. The generations of this time in human history hold a lot of responsibility and the literal fate of our species in their future choices. Despite what they've been leading us to believe, birth rates have been in decline. Humanity is facing losing half of the world population by the end of the century. That's a shocking fact that everyone needs to realize. This is a direct result of a decline in human births. If births continue to decline as they have over the last 70 years, we could be facing major challenges for the remaining human race. In order for humans to advance our species and ensure our survival, we need large populations around the world. We need our youth to carry the torch to advance us technologically, or we'll lose the technology that impacts our daily lives. We can advance our collective consciousness as well as our potential for the future of the human race. They're not mutually exclusive. With the love and genuine support from all living generations of Pluto, we can make these transformations as painless as possible. We've already experienced the destruction and dismantling of many aspects of the human experience. With the upcoming generations, I honestly see the light at the end of the tunnel. So collectively, let's become aware of the direction that we're headed. Let's not allow ourselves to be lulled into the idea that we're powerless to the structures, beliefs, concepts, and ideals that previous generations have inadvertently laid the path for. Instead, let's take a look at the roadmap so that we can see where we're going. There is so much to look forward to with our current and future generations. Our children are the most valuable thing on this planet. I hope the living generations from Cancer to Capricorn see the value of their contribution to our human race. I can see it because it was written in the stars. I plan to go into deeper discussion of the Plutonian generation so that you can gain a higher perspective on how Pluto has influenced every aspect of the human experience. I will be researching much further back in Pluto's cycle, tracing it back to the earliest recorded history to current times to see how it aligns historically. I estimate it to be approximately 9 cycles to 1 CE from where we are. So looking at it that way, an age is approximately 2,200 and some odd years. So it is a pretty safe bet that 10 cycles of Pluto would be the equivalent of an age. So it should be interesting to continue to go down this rabbit hole. It's really neat stuff, and I'll be sure to share all my findings with you here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button now. Click all notifications to get alerts when I do release new videos. Thank you for watching and supporting the channel.